Sorry, New York. I'm Hollywood Bob, welcoming you to the first edition of the Hollywood Bob Show. We'll have some fun on the show. We'll be reviewing films, looking at box office figures, basically finding out just what's going on in Hollywood. We start off each show with a film clip, and review of a film, so we can show our guide our showers, what are we doing? We're showing our viewers how they can best spend their $5. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor and spaghetti mogul, Mr. Paul Newman, a dear friend of mine. He is. You're laughing, he is. And he has great spaghetti. You can put it on your spaghetti. Or, hey, you can put it in your hair. Well, Fanny and Alexander. It's very sad. This is the last film we're ever going to get to see of Mr. Ingmar Bergman. Ironically, this was the first film I've ever seen of Ingmar Bergman. And unfortunately, the few years of high school sweetness that I had seemed to have worn thin. So for me, so did the plot. Nice scenery, though, along with very authentic accents. Make Fanny and Alexander a nice final effort by veteran director Bergman. Name is Bergman. I don't know why we're laughing. No reason to be laughing. Hollywood Bob says, if you can get it for children's prices, see it. Next week, we'll be showing film clips from the revised version of Kramer vs. Kramer, including never-before-seen footage, including Dustin Hoffman and pop singer Lionel Richie. As I said earlier, we interviewed Shirley Winters this morning discussing her new clothing line and also a possible film in the future, a love story between her and teen idol Matt Dillon. I'd like to show you that tape right now. I guess we have the wrong tape. Okay, well, so much for Miss Winters. I'd like to take you on over here, look at some box office figures. Heading up here was Never Say Never Again, up here. Followed by the big chill. Can we? We don't pan. Okay. All right. Well, over there are the films. We don't need the films. But we'll just go on with our show. Because big things are going on in syndicated television. Yeah. Hee-haw was fourth. That's no surprise. But first was Entertainment Tonight. Lawyers are talking of a possible infringement suit in which, well, they're saying that one of the shows is a little too close to the other. Generously, okay, now get this. Generously, I offer to drop the charges. I don't care who else is on. And then I find out it has nothing to do with my charges. The charges aren't by me, they're against me. You figure it out. Time is running thin on our show, but luckily the fun isn't. And I'm going to invite you back here next week. But before I sign off, I'd like to remind you that my show, yeah, it may be right here in New York, but I'll tell you something. My heart's in Hollywood. Welcome to another episode of Detective at Work, with your star, Larry Sachs as Elliot Mess, and Hollywood Bob as Detective Smith. And tonight's special guest star, Joe Manilow as Wealthy. My name's Smith, Detective Smith. I work for the IRS. The story you're about to see is true. The characters have changed their faces to protect the innocent. I arrived at the apartment... No, not yet. I arrived at the apartment of Warren Wealthy at 7:45. He was there. I knocked. He answered.
Can I help you?
Are you Wealthy?
Very.
IRS, Detective Smith. I'd like to speak to you.
Would you like a drink?
Scotch on the rocks if you got it.
I'm out of scotch.
I'm out of time. I'm here about the Poor Slav Academy charity. I want to know, $1 million in donations in the last year? Are you the benefactor?
I am.
Well, why don't you start explaining where the dough's been going?
It's all quite simple. What I do is I take poor Slavs off the streets and try to make their lives more worthy. It's quite simple. Look right here. Anything that might help a potential poor Slav is right here. Money, food, deodorant.
Sounds suspicious, Wealthy.
Not at all. In fact, it's all quite simple. You're welcome to observe this afternoon's meeting. He should be here any minute. His name's Elliot Mess. Come in. You must be Mess.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to wash up for the meeting.
I mean Elliot Mess.
That's
Meet
me.
Detective Smith. What was that?
What?
That wink.
What wink?
That wink. You winked to him.
Oh, that wink. There's dust in the air, I think.
And you winked to him.
Yeah, dust. I feel it too.
Well, let's proceed. All right, sit down, please, Mr. Mess. Hold it.
I understand.
Mr. Mess, I'm a believing man. I'm not interested in your records or your references. If you can prove you're a poor slob, then I'd like to help you.
Oh, I assure you, Mr. Wealthy, I am the poorest of the poor and the slobbiest of the slobs.
Well, then why don't we go over your problems and let's see if I can help you. Now, please, go ahead and tell me your worries.
Well, I have no family. I drink way too much money. I have no underwear. I mean, I have no clean underwear. And I haven't eaten in 3 days.
Oh, excuse me for not offering. I hope you don't mind leftovers.
I prefer them.
Now, let's see. No home, no job, no family. At $2 a problem, that's $14.
Thank you, Mr. Wealthy. This is the nicest thing that anybody ever did for me.
Think nothing of it. I invite you over for longer, but I have 4 other slobs.
Sir, I understand, sir. Oh, nice to meet you, Detective Smith.
Yeah.
Matt, if I could just have your signature here. Just receipt, verification of the donation to you.
Certainly. What does this say?
Oh, just some red tape. Just sign, that'll be that.
Elliot Mess received $14,000?
We got our man, Mess. Book him.
I should have known. All that winking.
Yeah, you should have.
There's no dust in here.
I'm no poor slob. Come on, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay.
Warren Wealthy was convicted of 2 counts of fraud. His jailing period, 6 to 8 years in the penitentiary. It was later found that Mr. Wealthy had committed other acts, one of which was returning a TV dinner to the supermarket after having already eaten the vegetables. His sentence was doubled. I work for the IRS. I'm Detective Smith. We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode of Detectives at Work and invite you back next week to join Elliot Mess and Hollywood Bob as they solve the case of the missing salmon. Hi, Jack Kaplan here with a special bulletin. TV personality Hollywood Bob, best known for his shows such as The Hollywood Bob Show and Detectives at Work, died today at the age of 28. He leapt from his 6th-floor apartment here in Greenwich Village, where he fell to his death. Why does someone so on top of his profession do something like that? Was it illness? Was it depression? We've gathered together some of his colleagues and family to help try and solve that mystery. Answer the questions that I know you're going to want to ask. I'm Jack Kaplan, Channel B News. We're inside the Greenwich Village apartment of Hollywood Bob. The room is bare, it's empty. Bit of nostalgia for Hollywood Bob fans. I see next to the window ledge are the glasses that he made so famous on the show. The one thing that strikes me in particular about the room is the temperature. It's absolutely freezing in here. I don't know what part that played, if any, in the death of Hollywood Bob. We'll certainly look into it. No, that wasn't the reason. I mean, it was cold in the place, you know.
I remember saying, you know, I would say to Hollywood, I would say, you know, Hollywood, it's cold in the place. Why don't you turn the heat on or something? But he would just give me one of those blank stares, you know, like they do, and he would just look at me and no answer. But that wasn't the reason, no. If there was any particular reason, it was the shows. I mean, God, for a while there, every sketch we did, we were getting sued. There was the first, okay, now there was the Entertainment Tonight sketch that everybody knows. But then we had the midgets. Now I saw the midget sketch. I thought it was a good sketch. I thought it was in good taste. The midgets didn't think so. But and then there was the Shelley Winters one. That was the one.
Said earlier, we interviewed Shelley Winters this morning discussing her new clothing line and also a possible film in the future. A love story between her and teen idol Matt Dillon. I'd like to show you that tape right now. I guess we have the wrong tape. Okay, well, so much for Miss Winters.
Now you saw it. It was an accident. He didn't mean to. No offense or nothing. But so the show gets canceled. Not just canceled. They threw him off the air. But he gets another show, which was a good part. The show was good. It was what was it? Detective story? What was it called? Detectives at Work. I think that was it. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Detectives at Work, starring Larry Sachs and his partner and America's favorite detective, Hollywood Bob.
Oh, there's no question that he was talented. He was funny. He had very good timing, and he had a look. Some people look right on the tube. He was one of them, without a question. If there was a problem, it was his concentration. He had none. He would laugh. He would blow the budget so out of proportion. It was embarrassing. I was embarrassed to talk to the studio heads. We would be on the set, and he would think of an improvisation, which would be wonderful. I mean, he was wonderfully witty. But it would take him all day long just to say it without laughing. He just couldn't stop. I remember one particular day doing one take 40 times. Now I like laughter. I mean, I've worked with some of the comic geniuses. Pryor, Brooks, DeLuise. Now, DeLuise is someone who would occasionally go off the handle. But he would stop. Hollywood couldn't stop. He couldn't stop laughing. You know, I'm sorry to hear that he's gone. He was a lovely man. He just couldn't stop laughing.
I'm out of scotch.
No, I'm out of time. It was sad, you know, watching his demise. I saw it. I was in Florida, but it was so sudden. That's the thing. Okay, now one night, there he is on primetime TV, and then you turn around, and the next day, you know, you got this. And you know, it wasn't just the fans. It was his friends that done it to him too. I mean, I kind of figured, cause okay, I kind of like Lois Lane, you know, the girl who plays it, and Margot Kidder. She's cute, I think. So I asked Hollywood, you know, can you get me an autograph? Cause he knows all the people out there, and he tried, but he couldn't get the autograph. He couldn't get interviews. After like the Winters fiasco, no one would give him any respect out there, and it was very sad. For me, he was my brother, but there were the people watching. I think America really sensed it. Hello, Steve. Hollywood here, Hollywood Bob.
Yes?
Calling for that interview, Big X?
Yeah, Hollywood, not a good time. I'm kind of busy.
See, my personal favorite film of yours was Jaws. Was
Hollywood, not now, okay?
Yeah. You didn't win the Oscar last year. Hello? Hello? Steve? That was Steven Spielberg. So, then as far as I know, he went back to L.A. I mean, I thought he'd be a little sad. I mean, but L.A., that's where he wanted to be anyway. I mean, at first, he was I mean, he would always say, I remember he would say this, and we thought he was crazy. I mean, who would think any of this would happen, you know, that anything would happen? But I remember he would say, you know, hey, I got to be in L.A., you know? Everyone's in L.A. The Streisand, Newman, the gang, me. And he couldn't find a job. It took him, he never found a job there, but it took him 2 years. It was 2 years. And then he had an idea that some people in New York liked, and that's what eventually became the Hollywood Bob Show.
I'm Hollywood Bob, welcoming you to the first edition of the Hollywood Bob Show.
Then he did the concert when he came back to L.A. And in the concert, he talked about, you know, he was unhappy and this and that, but you know, it was just jokes. It was material. I didn't think it was serious. I just thought it was jokes. New York, no. New York and myself, we did not agree. I was miserable there. I think, actually, if you were to take the 2 years that I spent there, take the misery from them and spread them out over a decade, you would still have the 10 individually most unhappy years ever recorded. It was, and I would speak to my friends out in L.A. Redford would call and say, Hollywood, you know, you look like you're having such a good time out there. You're out on the shows. You're doing the circuit. How do you have time to be unhappy? And I think the secret to that was, and I told him this, was staying up late.
The thing I miss most about my dad is seeing him on TV. The last time I saw him, he was visit us this summer. When he got off the plane, he was dressed up like Santa Claus with a big white beard, and he had a big Christmas tree under his arm, and it was August, but nobody had the heart to tell him. So we just sang Christmas carols for 2 days until he left, and that was the last time I ever saw my dad.
And then he went back to New York. And nobody understood it because he had his kid in L.A. and his wife. And he just left back to New York. He wasn't happy there. He just left. And he would do crazy things. Oh, he was the strangest. I mean, you know about the bed thing. I mean, he didn't sleep in sheets at night. He would sleep. Did you see his bed? He would have he would sleep. There was a pillow and there was a shopping bag from Macy's or something. That's what he slept in. I mean, he would do weird things. But I mean that one I never understood. But the milk. Did I tell you about the milk? The milk. Now this didn't just happen once. This happened, I would say, probably 10 or 11 times. Okay, I would be at his apartment, and I would drink coffee. I drink coffee. So I would say to him, you know, first of all, I would have to make it myself because he couldn't make coffee. He said he couldn't make it or he couldn't get the water to boil or something. I don't know. So I said, okay. So I make the coffee, and I put milk in my coffee. I mean, that's a lot of people put milk in their coffee, so I'm one of them. And I go to put the milk in. I take out of the refrigerator and I pour it in, and I would ruin the coffee because he would put chocolate milk in the. I mean, I always thought that was very impractical because he would not to make chocolate milk. He wouldn't put it in a glass. He would take the chocolate powder and put it right in the carton, so nobody could drink milk with their coffee. So that I didn't understand. I mean, you know, he was crazy. I don't think he was crazy enough to do this, though. I don't know. What do you want me to say? He was my brother. I loved him. I will always love him. Miss him. Just wish it was a nice story. I wish it didn't have to end like this. I don't know what else to say.
Detectives will continue to look for evidence to try and solve the mystery of the Hollywood Bob suicide. In the meantime, I'd like to leave you with this clip from the Hollywood Bob Show.
But before I sign off, I'd like to remind you that my show, yeah, It may be right here in New York, but I'll tell you something. My heart's in Hollywood.
Hollywood Bob, dead at the age of 28.
It started out as laughter, but then turned to tears. It's not that long after, but it seems like years. I can't say when it left me, if I had it at all. But without it, it's just too hard to fall. It's a funny thing, you know, when you see them smile. Remember it so clear, though it's been a while.